Tonight, we take a walk back in time. 3 bullets fired into Robert F. Kennedy in Los Angeles in 1968. The night that he won the California primary changed the course of history.
Now, his convicted killer, Sirhan Sirhan, is awaiting a decision from Governor Newsom as to whether he will be paroled after parole commissioners gave their okay. While everyone waits, Phil Shuman was granted extraordinary access to what's called the assassination collection as preserved by the state of California.
He joins us live now from downtown LA near what used to be the Ambassador Hotel.
That's right. Now the Robert F. Kennedy Community School Complex. You know, Los Angeles has seen so many huge moments in history, Alex and Marla. Some good, some bad. None bigger, though, than what happened here in 1968. And it was just an extraordinary morning that we spent in Sacramento going through the evidence, the life of Sirhan Sirhan. It's an historical treasure filling parts of 6 floors inside the Secretary of State's office building in Sacramento. It's the State of California Archives. Established way back in 1850, it's now run by Tamara Martin.
I think it's my dream job. It's an amazing experience. I feel very fortunate to come here every day, and I think just being able to experience history and really providing public access to it.
Fox 11 got special access to what has to be the most unusual items stored here. Donated by the LAPD in 1987, it's what's called the Robert F. Kennedy Assassination Investigation Collection.
So this is Sirhan's gun, as it's called. It was presented into evidence.
Inside a plain cardboard box on padding, the actual 8-shot Ivor Johnson 55A cadet revolver Sirhan Sirhan used to kill Robert F. Kennedy. We could look, but not touch.
It looks so tiny.
It's very small.
Assistant Archivist Beth Benham showed us the items. The gun, the bullet fragments stored in baggies, one tiny one in a test tube, all taken from Kennedy's body and the 5 others wounded that night.
Yes, these came out of people's bodies.
We saw the 8 small spent casings discolored by age from Sirhan's gun. And through it all, an armed CHP officer watching. Why? It's required by the rules since there was a firearm in the exhibit. In fact, the entire assassination collection is kept apart from most of the other 350 million items inside what's called the high security vault. While we were allowed broad access to the entire collection, our camera was not allowed here. This video provided by the state. It's standard protocol for the priceless items.
What's the reaction when people see that Kennedy collection, typically?
I think typically there's a lot of surprise and shock.
Shock and surprise over
Just the materials being here, and also just due to the graphic nature of some of the items contained within the collection.
Kennedy hospital sheet.
Like the sheets from RFK's hospital deathbed, folded, sealed in plastic.
You can still see the sweat stains on the collar.
The actual clothing the convicted killer wore that night also wrapped up.
Mugshots.
Photo booth snapshots of Sirhan as a young man in the San Gabriel Valley. And booking photos from the night of his arrest, 5'5", 120 pounds, 24 years old. Even examples of Sirhan's own writing found in his house presented at trial.
So this is an actual page from his notebook?
It's a photograph of it, yes.
Take a look at the line, Robert F. Kennedy must be assassinated.
We now switch live to the Kennedy headquarters in the Ambassador Hotel, where the senator is expected to make a statement.
KTTV covered the senator that terrible night, June 4th, 1968, a victory speech at LA's Ambassador Hotel after winning the California primary.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there. Thank you very much.
Seconds later, Kennedy lay dying on the floor of the hotel's pantry. Sirhan later convicted of firing the 3 shots that hit him. With that revolver, his brother actually purchased from a neighbor for $25. There is, of course, renewed interest in the case now that Sirhan, 77, was granted parole by 2 commissioners back in August after 15 previous denials.
I think it's very important to preserve all of these materials and all of this evidence because history, too, has its claims. And people will want to look at this over the years.
USC political science professor Bob Shrum. a 25-year-old Harvard law student when Robert Kennedy was killed, later a longtime Democratic political consultant who worked for Kennedy's brother Ted. He's still close to the family, adamantly opposes parole. We spoke as I was preparing to visit the archives. What would it be like for you to be in that room with all that trial evidence and exhibits?
Well, it would bring back all the pain and all the memories. I think Sirhan Sirhan didn't just murder one man, he murdered the best hopes of a generation. There's nothing that can undo it, but that doesn't mean that the person who did it should be let out of jail.
Yes, all the pain, the memories. Governor Newsom spoke of something similar when he told me of the messages he's received since the parole board's decision.
The stories, the emails and text messages I've gotten from people aren't just giving an opinion about yes or no. They're expressing their memories of that time.
Memories preserved forever here in Sacramento. Meantime, the key question remains, will Sarhan ever actually get out?
That's a fair question.
His parole is still under legal review. If approved, then a decision for the governor, who said Robert Kennedy was a hero of his, so draw your own inference.
The process has to unfold. It has to come to me formally. If I get in the middle of a process with just two people recommending the full board and adjudicate, I could put that entire process at risk.
Well, Alex and Marla, Bob Shrum and others who are familiar with Governor Newsom's thinking, his respect for Robert F. Kennedy, would be shocked if he approved Sirhan Sirhan's parole at the age of 77. But it is possible. If he does get out, I'm told that he plans to live with his brother, who still has a home in the Pasadena area. As for the state archives, normally they're open to the public, but not now because of COVID. But under normal circumstances, anybody could make a request and have access to some of the incredibly rare and important exhibits. Of course, the Kennedy assassination investigation collection, the most unusual there in Sacramento. Alex, Marla?
In terms of a timeline, Phil, and by the way, that was all extremely fascinating. How soon would that legal review come to an end and the governor's decision happen?
They have until the end of December. They don't have to take all that time, and then the governor has a period of time to review it. So it could happen in December or January, if not sooner.
And just to underscore Phil's point, I mean, RFK is the political hero for Gavin Newsom. He has one picture of one politician in his office. It is RFK and his father, who was a judge at the time. He is his guiding light. So that does tell you something. It would be shocking if he approved that. But Phil, I'm just wondering on a human level, what was it like being in that room and seeing all that stuff? It must have been quite something.
It was chilling. It was chilling to see that revolver on the table in front of us, and it was tiny. Your hand would dwarf it. To see that, the bullet fragments, to see a bullet fragment that was in Robert F. Kennedy's body, the shell casings, to read Sirhan's writings, Robert F. Kennedy must die, must be assassinated by June 5th. Remember, he now claims he has no memory of the assassination, though he confessed to it at trial. It was chilling. It was also it was rewarding to see that it was preserved with such care for future generations. Interesting, some things have disappeared. RFK's clothing. We were originally told that the DA's office had it, the police department had it. No, it was sent to the archives. It wasn't there. Then we're told it may have been sent to his family at some point. We weren't allowed to see, for example, the autopsy photos, not that we would be able to show them to you anyway. We weren't allowed to see the results of blood tests, grand jury questionnaires because of personal information. But all in all, we did have extraordinary access, and we appreciate the folks from the state archives working with us on that.
What a report. Phil Shuman, thank you. We'll be right back.